On 24 February 2025, I was arrested by the state, my government, on allegations of transmitting or broadcasting information that they said was likely to incite violence.
Over the last few days, I have learned my lesson. I have learned that freedom is not free. It comes at a cost, at times a painful one.
Regrettably, the court postponed delivery of that ruling.
If facts and truth are illegal, prison is my home. HSTV is my home. It's my passion. My colleagues have stood with me and by me, and I thank them.
The public, the idea that journalists are targeted only, gets to a point where every other citizen is affected.
But I've come out without any intention to fight anyone. I forgive those who are behind.
Healing of memories, because I've been suffering mentally because of the experience, and I needed treatment. And as I made that application through my lawyer Chris Mike, who was just here, the state said it's now investigating me on allegations of involvement in the October 17 demonstrations that have been called by someone who apparently his name is Blessed Geza, but and I'm also blessed, but I'm Blessed Mtlanga. So basically, the state's intention is not to impede me from doing my work, but it is to stifle my life, to make sure that my life is at a standstill, to hit my pockets, to affect even my innocent children, who now I can't fully take care of or send to school properly, because the state, in all it's doing, for instance, I can't be out of Harare for more than a week because I have to report to Harare CID every Friday, right? And therefore, I can't work. I can't do anything. And this is from 17 February up to now. They are refusing or failing to give me a speedy trial as envisaged under the constitution of this country. So the issue is not about silencing me. It's about crippling me. It's about crippling even my children who are innocent, who have nothing to do with this. In fact, you would know that I failed to sit for my exams. They denied me an opportunity to go and sit for my exams. And I failed those exams even though I couldn't write them. But fundamentally, my attitude has been, if I have suffered this much, why should I stop? If I've been hit this hard, stopping would not make sense. So fundamentally, we continue to anchor the freedom of expression and freedom of speech, because it does not benefit me. Because, I mean, honestly, if I failed in my life, I've already failed. I'm 45. The reason why we do this is not for me, but it's for the nation, it's for the younger people, it's for them to be able to make, useful decisions that will change their lives and that will change this nation to become a better nation. And I want to thank the people who have been in solidarity with me, solidarity with Alpha Media Holdings, the Frederick Newman Foundation in particular, and the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, and MISA, and Amnesty International. These people have anchored my resilience. They've anchored my fight. Because when I got out of prison, my children's third term fees had been paid by some of these colleagues. And when I was in prison, I felt better because I knew my children's lives is not being very, very much affected. So for me, this is what it means, solidarity. And it means to me that I can concentrate on my work because someone's got my back. And as you were speaking, you spoke about continually supporting the media. Without that support, honestly, I think I would have turned into farming by now, because the things that I've gone through, the things that I am going through currently, the horrors I'm going through currently. I mean, imagine I'm sitting in my house and the state says it's investigating me for statements made by someone who I don't know where he even is, on his YouTube account. They're investigating me. And now I'm a suspect. For what?
One of the questions, of course, blessed people ask. I remember at some point someone asked, why do you want to suffer? Why do you take yourself through this hell? 73 days in prison and still does not stop. You're free, but you are not yet free. So what keeps you going, apart from the support that you're getting, but what inspires you to continue to do the work that you do on a daily basis, despite this kind of treatment?
So vision is for a few, provision is for many. Many years ago, before I was born, someone, when probably everyone thought it was impossible, built this building that we're sitting in here today. It was probably one person. They had the vision, but now it's providing for all of us. And that's what pushes me to say, we're not all going to fight. We're not all going to make, to be saying this is what we are doing to make this country better. But one person can make that difference. And way after I'm gone, people will enjoy democracy, will enjoy freedom because of the small contribution that I have put. But more, important for me is my daughter. She's my pride. What would she think about me if I didn't speak for those who can't speak? There are a lot of people who have ideas and they can't speak. There are a lot of people who think and they don't have the voice, they can't speak, because we all have different talents. The architect must draw so that we live in the building. I was blessed with a voice by God. I was blessed with the ability to write and tell a story, right? I'm going to use it to bless this country, even if it means trouble for me. So I'm not sent, I'm convicted. Even if they convict me, my heart is convicted.
Okay. True, it's the small drops of water that we put together to make the impact, to make the ocean. It starts from small efforts that we make. And to you, Faith, who I've known for a very long time, you've been down the trenches, but you're not yet down because you're here. That already is basically a demonstration of we are not yet giving up. Faith, first, how did you learn that actually the police were interested in you? And what was going through your mind the moment you found that actually these guys are coming for me?
Thanks, Judy. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Morning. Maybe I can just start off by saying a little bit about myself. I've been in the media for 33 years now, and I've gone through it all. Sexual harassment by sources, by journalists, intimidation from the state. I remember there was a time when there was a story I was working on, and then I got a call where I was then told that if I did the story, they're going to do to me what they did to Kane Kala, who was murdered in Matabeleland province. And there's been times when I've been told that I was under surveillance for 6 months, 24-hour surveillance. But for me, the arrest was the most traumatic experience that I've had. So initially, I was informed on a Sunday that they were unhappy with Mark Recker. So when I heard that, I just brushed it off because I just thought, because almost every Friday when we publish, I do get calls sometimes. So I just thought it was just, one of those. And then on the Tuesday, I was woken up at 6 a.m. by a friend who had received a call that they were looking for my address. And thank God I got that call. So I was able to then prepare I phoned Mr. Zimbabwe, then I phoned my bosses at Alpha Media, and then Mr. Zimbabwe directed me to Chris Mike. So I spoke to Chris Mike that morning. So before they even went to the office, we had already spoken with Chris in terms of strategizing on how we're going to handle the matter. So we then went to the police around 2 p.m. And also remember, during that time, I was very ill. For me, I was more concerned about my health. And I felt that I should have been in hospital, not in police cells. So we went to the police. We tried to negotiate on health grounds. Yeah, they kept on going in and out, making several calls. So eventually at 5 to 6, they came back and said I was under arrest. I remember when they said those words, it hit me like a hammer. And I think the way I felt in that moment was, I think I left my body because I felt like I was floating. And my main concern was my health because to tell you the truth, there was a time when I actually thought that I might not make it through the night because I was that sick. But they were not interested. And I remember we've also written a lot of stories about the police cells, how filthy they are. And I never thought in a million years that I'll find myself being locked up in one because of my work. So spend the night in the police cells. But what I then did that night was I spoke to myself. I said, Faith, because of the allegations, because I was accused of insulting or undermining the president. And I knew that the chances of getting bail were very slim. So I then needed to prepare myself mentally. So I spoke to myself. I said, Faith, this is what is happening. Tomorrow you are going to court, and the chances are you're not going back home. So you need to be ready for this. You need to be prepared mentally that you are likely to go to Chikurubi prison. Then I also said to myself, you are a strong woman. You've been through a lot. You've been through a lot. You can survive this. Then I also told myself that I will never allow them to watch me break down. So when we went to court, I remember Machaz laughing at me saying, I don't look like somebody that is likely to be imprisoned, because I was trying to be strong for my kids and for my family. I remember telling my family that when they were hugging me, not to cry, because I knew that as soon as they broke down, I was also going to break down. So yeah, so I was trying to be strong for people, smiling, laughing, but deep down, because I just felt, because I kept on asking myself, why am I even here? Why am I here? I'm a journalist. I haven't killed anybody. I haven't stolen from anybody. I haven't committed any crime as far as I'm concerned. So when we went into court, and then when they denied me bail, yeah, I put up a very brave face. I did that for my children, because I knew that if I broke down, they were going to break down. But then the other thing I want to say is the support that I got from the prison guards and from the other prisoners was amazing. Actually, they kept me going. I remember when we walked out, the prison guards then said to me, Faith, don't show them. Don't break down in front of them. Stay strong. Keep your head up. And I did exactly that. And when I went into the cells, I remember sitting in the cell by myself and like closing my eyes. One, I didn't know what to expect at Chikurubi prison, because I knew the police prison is really bad. So I was hoping that at least the conditions will be better. So I didn't know what to expect. So I lay there closing my eyes, and I was very angry. I was very angry at the system for arresting me because of my job. Yeah, but somehow, I don't know where the calmness came from. I didn't cry. I remember getting into the truck, and then everyone kept on asking me, have you been arrested before? Have you been incarcerated before? Because I didn't shed a tear. And then I just said, no, never. And the other prisoners were saying when they were remanded in prison, they did cry. And then just sitting in that truck where you are sitting with murderers, you are sitting with armed robberies, and you are just a journalist, and you are being arrested for doing your job, you know? And then when I got to Chikurubi, I just prayed. I said, Lord, please look after me. I even spoke to my ancestors. I remember calling out my grandmother, my aunt, and everybody to look after me, because I was really worried. And when they locked that door, because I was so sick. I just thought if I deteriorated, what was going to happen? And I remember even thinking that I might actually die, overnight. And the prison cells, and I'm sure Blessed will attest to this. I don't wish that on anyone, and it was like the coldest week of the month. And we were sleeping on hard concrete, and there's one toilet, and you've got 60 people in that prison cell. And then the toilets, they don't flush. And you're worried about life as well, so went to court the next day. And then I remember was it on the Thursday, when the magistrate said, I cannot give you the ruling. I remember looking up, and the prison guard was sitting next to me. She held my hand and she said, don't cry. Hold your head up. Take back those tears, because I really wanted to break down. So I just looked up. I smiled at everyone. Yeah, but it was the most traumatic period of my life. Like what Lisa said, I think when that happens to you, sometimes we forget about the mental health impact it has. For me, I kept on telling myself that I didn't cry. I only cried when I got bail. So I'm a very strong woman, and I was lying to myself. And I realized, I remember on the day when I came out, I had a panic attack. I was sitting on the sofa and I just jumped. I'm like, oh, today is Friday. I need to report to the police. And my aunt was just looking at me like, are you okay? And I even remember having this conversation with Blessed, that at night, I kept on jumping out of bed, maybe 4 times a night. And then Blessed saying to me, that's normal. Do you remember? Then I said, it's not normal. You're not supposed to be having these panic attacks. You're not supposed to be jumping out of bed. And then there was a day I called my kids. At least I had that realization that I was not okay. So I said to my kids, I'm not okay. I need help. That's when I sought counseling, and that has helped. And I remember going to counseling, and then the counselor asked me, what is it that you want to come out of this? Then I said I wanted faith back, because I thought I'd lost faith, and I wanted faith back. And I'm glad faith is back.
That's it was so bad that now Faith says we were with the other prisoners. So she's a prisoner, she's with other prisoners. That's very sad, but the resilience, of course, really comes out. And now to Becky, first would like to hear your story, because it's always good for people to know what is happening. And also I would like to know, how is your life after? Because people have gone through this kind of treatment. Some people think they're paranoid. You're together with people from where I have to go home and you're waiting for dinner. From now we're supposed to go somewhere, we're like, no, you guys, I have changed my mind. And these are effects that we don't talk about, and long after they still follow us. So tell us your story and let us know, what are these after effects? And for Faith, she went for counseling. But can you say how it affects you and how you deal with it? Because we've seen journalists, people are blaming them for alcohol and a lot of other things, but people don't understand what they have been through and what they have to contend with. So Becky.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, I'm actually happy that I'm glad that I'm also listening to stories. In my country, I've been pretty much the only journalist who's gone through what this jail thing. So sometimes you're never sure you never know about the experiences of others, and I'm happy that pretty much what they're saying I can identify with. Perhaps as a starting point, I would like to make an appeal to everyone. Whenever a journalist goes through this, going to jail, I think Blessed put it nicely. It's difficult to be in jail, but being in jail is not having the doors shut on you. It's a mental state. Blessed talks about his children and his daughter, who's by all accounts, daddy's girl. Once you worry about your children and your family and your wife, it makes it very difficult. So if you want to help, I would like to say, perhaps the starting point is to say, is his family okay? Because if that question is answered, then he can handle the pressure inside. The difficulty is when you don't know or you understand that they are going to get kicked out of school, that makes it difficult. It sort of helps you say, well, I'm a man, I can face this. I don't have to worry about my children. And I think that's extremely important. And I think where you find yourself in a situation, if they convict him, you're out on bail. That's what should worry is, are his children going to be okay? And then, of course, the support comes next, going to court with him to listen. There's a group of people that worry me. People are so scared of prison. They're so scared of prison that your friends, people you know, might not show up. Not because they don't like you, they are scared of the institution you are in. You know, I once had a friend come and she cried. And I was like, why are you crying? I'm the one who's in prison. And you're okay. And I was trying to be in good spirit. People are scared of prison. So, you know, I understand that. And I think Blessed do understand. Some people don't show up. They don't hate you, they're scared. They've pretty much told the story of how life is there. I was there for 470 days. But the first time I was arrested was in 1999. And I was charged with criminal defamation. I was the only person charged with that crime in my country, Eswatini. And since then, nobody has been charged. But I never stood trial. I spent one night in jail. I was released on bail the following day, and I had my arresting officer was very, very friendly to me. And I remember a few months later, after doing the reporting, I told him that I needed to go to South Africa because they'd taken my passport. And he was like, yeah, sure, come and get your passport. We didn't even go to court. He just took it out of a drawer and gave it to me. And he said, I know you'll come back. But that told me that he had done his job. He had been told what to do, but he didn't believe, you know, in what he was, that I was such a bad person. He just was being a cop. I got fired from my job in that process without even a hearing or anything. I was just told. And this was the time when cell phones were still arriving, was still a new phenomenon. And one of the calls I got was, don't come to work tomorrow, we'll call you. And they called me later that week and gave me a letter of dismissal and the check that was due to me, even though we had to then settle it in a lawsuit later because it was unfair dismissal. But that was done to appease the authorities. What I'd done was I published an article. So the first time I published, King Mswati had taken a new wife. And her background was that she had been a naughty girl and had dropped out of school because she liked to party. So we published that story. There was a whole hoo-ha. But it was the following week where I really sealed my fate. So the following week, there was a graduation at the university. And the king's wives were sitting in a line. And there was this one who was wearing a graduation gown because she had a degree. And when the photographer showed me the pictures, the temptation to say this is a graduate and the dropout just couldn't escape me. And that's when I got fired because they felt I was pushing it too far. But factually, I wasn't wrong. I just, perhaps you could say I was disrespectful. I don't know. But so I got fired. The second time was in 2014, where we were arrested with Tulan Masek. I was no longer working. I was now working in the magazine. And we had written the Chief Justice.
30 seconds.
Huh?
You finish in 30 seconds.
Oh.
Yeah.
Isn't my time a bit shorter? This is not. Anyway, we were arrested with Tulan Masego. That's when we were tried and convicted. We had criticized the Chief Justice at the time. He had had someone arrested for no reason at all. except that he had the power to do that. And we wrote separate articles. We were tried. But what was interesting was when we went on appeal, because in the interim, the Chief Justice got into trouble. He was quite corrupt and he got arrested. And the prosecution, on the day we were in court, about to make, because when you appeal, your lawyer speaks first. The prosecution stood up. The very same person who had overseen our prosecution stood up and said, "No, can I address the court?" And the judges were like, "No, you speak later." He said, "No, I want to address it now before anybody." "Okay, what do you want to say?" "We made a mistake. We should never have arrested these people. And we have nothing to say about the appeal." And my lawyer said, "Okay, let's release them now." And he said, "We have no objection." That's how it ended. But what it has done since then, I've tried to take advantage of my misfortunes. And I remember asking a CEO of a bank a question at a press conference, and he ignored me. And later he came to me and said, "You know, your problem is you're the only person in this country with free speech. We don't envy you because you end it hard. But that question, I can never answer it. But you're asking as if we enjoy the same freedoms you have." And there's that. But things have changed in the country now. The media is in a bit of a mess as far as I'm concerned, so that stories are not being censored now. Generally, because the main newspaper, the flagship newspaper, is owned by a cabinet minister, they get told, "Don't publish that." And
Sorry, Becky, I wish we had more time. These stories are amazing. We hardly get time to tell our own stories. And so the MCs, they're about to slaughter me because it keeps on reminding me how much time I have left. So for you, Armando, what is your story? People would like to know, what have you been through? And one of the things that I still want to be addressed is the life after. Of course, I've mentioned about what happens to them, the fears, the shakes. How do you continue after these experiences?
Good morning, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor for me to be here. Now, it's a bit embarrassing for me because I'm the only one who have never been in jail because of my work. But that does not mean that the life of journalists in Mozambique are easy. The point is that the kind of strategies that are used in my own country are slightly different, maybe from what some of the colleagues here have been going through. In Mozambique, sometimes it's worse because they even kill journalists. They even kidnap journalists. Now that I'm talking here, we have 2 colleagues that are missing. We do not know exactly where they are, but it's clear that they were kidnapped by the police in Mozambique. Why? Because of the work that they have been doing, particularly in the northern part of Mozambique. Some of you might be familiar with what is happening in a province called Cabo Delgado, where we have a conflict there, and the government has been trying to crack down on journalism working or covering the events in northern Mozambique. And I think this takes us back to the discussion that we had earlier morning here about democracy. And of course, I'm not going back to discuss the let's say, a theoretical framework around that. But I'm going back just to say that, yes, we are formally a democracy. I'm talking about Mozambique, the country where I come from. We are formally democracy, but when it comes to, let's say, the political culture, what prevails in everyday life is not a democracy, it's authoritarianism. And this has been taking different forms, including, as I was saying, physical attacks on journalists, journalists, but also harassment. It's something that we experience every day in my country, kidnappings, and even assassination of journalists. I have so many friends from Zim, and whenever we discuss these issues about press freedom, democracy, they use a very interesting sentence that I would like to use here. They always says that, well, there is a freedom of expression in Zimbabwe, but there is no freedom after you express yourself. And I think this is what we are experiencing in Mozambique. I've personally experienced a lot of this act in terms of receiving threatening messages because of the work that I've been doing there, receiving threats from the government of Mozambique. As I said, I'm lucky because I've never been to jail, but that does not mean that we are free of harassment. It's something that we experience every day in our lives. So this is the picture, and I think this is the challenge that we are facing in Mozambique, but not only Mozambique, in other countries here in the region. Thank you.
Yeah, it is true. If you look at the continent, press freedom is on the decline. Kenya, which somehow has looked way ahead with the freedom of the press, it's getting worse every day. And somebody was asking, you Kenyans should not even complain. At least it's not as bad as our situation. But I told them, the moment we relaxed, we are all finished. So clearly, we have to continue. You've heard the story. It's getting worse. And now with technology, surveillance that has increased, even to monitor journalists, the situation has really become bad. I don't know if I'm allowed to have the Q&A session. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So I don't know if there's anyone with a really pressing question, but the way forward, moving from here, is a commitment that I think we need to make based on the stories that I have done. We have development partners, we have civil society groups here. Frederick Naumann Foundation, of course, has been working with the media, but how do we support them? It's a reflection from fellow journalists. And we remember we spoke about resilience, about the network, about the power of people coming together. So it will be very interesting to hear what is the way forward. How are we going to support journalists to continue what they do? Because clearly they're not off the hook. They're not in the prison, but you can see they're not off the hook.